Guys, I'm so excited to share this message. Some clips from a series here on the Elemental Soul YouTube channel called Yeshua Speaks, addressing topics surrounding childhood SA. And the principles in the series can be applied to any type of child abuse. As a survivor of childhood SA myself, I really want to help more people to experience this same type of transformation and get to a new place in the understanding of why these types of things happen. So I decided to take some clips from the series and then share with you how the principles in these channeled messages really did play out in my life. Hang tight. We're going to look at a clip and come right back.
Now, I want to talk about the energetics of victims of childhood abuse and some of the ways that that can play out as an adult, where you don't become an abuser. So we already talked about in the other video that the reason that we have childhood trauma is because as a soul, we chose to have some level of suffering as a child, because childhood suffering then sets us up for big life lessons for the rest of our life. As strange as that sounds, because we reincarnate over and over to learn and grow as spirit having human experiences, we will design certain suffering for ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that it was supposed to be the extent that it might have ended up being. The reason that we choose to have suffering is generally because we have had past lives where we didn't have childhood suffering. And so we never were really able to learn and grow in the ways that we had wanted to as a soul in those lives. So for example, we wanted to learn how to connect with other people at a deeper level, but because we didn't suffer anything, we didn't have compassion for people that did suffer. And so we thought of them as other. So that would be an example of why you might introduce some suffering into your planned soul journey. But here's where the complicating factor comes in, because a lot of times the way that suffering comes in is that you create soul contract agreements with people that you actually really love in the spirit realm, and they agree to play a negative role part. For their soul has an objective too. They're like, okay, yes, I want to experience what this part is like. You want to experience this part, and we'll do this together. And this is the best case scenario, that we both learn it before it gets too horrible. But when we come to this lifetime, we forget our soul journey objectives. We forget who we are in spirit. And sometimes with everything else that comes into play in our human experience, when we make choices or we associate meaning to those things that is from a lower vibrational place and then egoic lower consciousness realm, which we talk about on the elemental soul, judgments about our experiences that involve literal judging other people or ourselves, shame, guilt, fear, control. It becomes the core of our egoic belief system. And then we continue to make decisions out of that flawed thinking in those lower vibrations. And so that compounds the direction that our soul didn't necessarily want to go down. Now, our guides 100% are always trying to wake us up to the fact that we're going down a path that our soul didn't want. Our guides includes our higher self, and they are going to try to wake you up to that.
So we're talking about why advanced souls choose childhood suffering. Okay. Some people may hear this concept and immediately resonate with it. There's a deep sense of, yes, I did choose this family, these circumstances, this incident, because I wanted to learn these specific lessons. But others initially have resistance come up as an emotional overlay, even though the concept of having chosen suffering in childhood really does resonate. Some have such a strong resistance to it that it has prevented you from learning the planned lessons or connecting to God, Creator, Source the way you really would like to. Personally, I have over a period of years gone from denial that I would have ever chosen a path like what my life has been on any level to accepting and being at peace with my soul level choices. The initial denial and resistance phase showed up as a victim mindset that was very, very difficult to get out of because I really had been targeted and victimized by someone I could not defend myself against. This stage reflected the forgetting who we are in spirit that Angie referred to in the video. The idea that our soul chose certain experiences as a means to set ourselves up for learning anything was totally foreign to me initially. I only got out of that phase by moving from asking, why did this happen to me early in life, to asking myself, what am I going to do with what is left of me in my life? What will I decide to make of all this? What can I retrieve from the ashes? And by that time, though I was quite young still, my life did feel like ashes because I had made some very poor decisions while in that victim mindset. As Angie mentioned, we begin to make decisions out of flawed thinking and lower vibration that takes us down the path our soul did not want to go.
Our guides 100% are always trying to wake us up, but they can't reach us through our intuition because our ego shuts that down. It's this negative lower consciousness loop, and we literally can't perceive higher guidance because it is in a higher vibration. It's in the vibration of self-love, love for others, of soul truth expression through the throat chakra, through intentional expansion, intentional trust, intentional courage. And so we literally can't get that guidance. And that makes it even easier for us to continue in that lower consciousness egoic loop and then make it worse. Our guides will try to reach us through external means too. So sometimes that's what introduces other areas of suffering, is to hopefully wake us up, because pain is always meant to be purposeful in our soul journey. But whenever we see the thing that we're meant to see in that moment, we still feel energetic relief, even if it's just for a little while. And then they'll show you another layer that they want you to see. And then eventually, when you've learned all the things, then there's no longer an energetic purpose for that pain. And also that pain is no longer reflective of what you carry inside. And so it will release. But all that said, so that's how you end up with childhood suffering. The extent of the suffering is often because it sort of goes off the rails for the reasons I just described, because we have free will. It's part of having a human experience. In its beautiful form, free will means we, as a spirit, get to forget we're spirit for a little bit, get inside a time dimension and experience an adventure. But on the negative side, when we lose sight of the things that are meant to be our guideposts or to give us access to guidance or to provide us moments of relief or joy or peace, if we lose sight of those and really cut ourselves off from it through our own actions and thoughts and beliefs, then it can cause it to be a worse experience than what we wanted. So most more advanced souls are going to have childhood suffering. It's not about deserving it. It's about being a soul in a human experience where we all want to learn certain things, and sometimes we jack it up.
So it was a very long haul out of that egoic lower consciousness loop of how unfair it all was, how I never had a fair chance at life because of these things, thinking that I didn't want to live, and then finally realizing that all I wanted was a fair chance to live a good life, and that only I could give myself that fair chance. Eventually, I got introduced to the idea that I chose my life path as a soul before birth, and began questioning why I would choose to come here at all, and subconsciously an unforgiveness of myself for making those choices, which showed up as more depression, and this time with a side of inability to trust my decision making. I wasn't exactly indecisive, but anything that didn't go to plan became directly my fault. So I had always expected a lot out of myself, but when I stopped blaming everyone else, I became extremely hard on myself. For a long while, that seemed to serve me well until I had gone as far as that characteristic could take me, and I was completely exhausted. Finally, through a series of events that were absolutely arranged by my guides, I came to a level of peace with my soul level choices, which led to massive clarity and acceleration on my path of ascension as I aligned with and leaned into those choices I had made. This phase is deeply empowering and peaceful as I now have a deep knowing that I am learning my chosen lessons, embracing my soul journey, and clearing the energy of the wounding, denial of, and resistance to the wounding that was really ripping me apart before. It made me feel the heaviness of perpetual victim and always fearful of what may go wrong when I did take agency over my life decisions. But recognizing and accepting my soul level choices for childhood suffering ultimately led me to embrace the power of my choices, my free will, and the deep realization that alignment with my soul level choices was powerful enough to bring me here to this lifetime. So surely alignment with my soul level choices can sustain me in this lifetime. This led to some very unexpected plot twists as I reclaim my power of choice, but we'll get to that later.
Because a lot of times the way that suffering comes in is that you create soul contract agreements with people that you actually really love in the spirit realm, and they agree to play a negative role part. For their soul has an objective too. They're like, okay, yes, I want to experience what this part is like. You want to experience this part, and we'll do this together. And this is the best case scenario that we both learn it before it gets too horrible.
Now, this series is specifically addressing SA, but the principles of why advanced souls choose childhood suffering can also apply to narcissistic abuse. Personally, at a soul level, I chose an extremely difficult mother daughter dynamic, and 2025 ultimately led me to a point of going no contact with my mom. Now, this was a very difficult decision to come to, but the relationship was just too toxic. I went through years of trying to manage the situation with various other skills I learned in therapy based in self love and honoring my own personhood, but none of that worked. It would seem to get better and then get worse again as I was learning my lessons at a soul level and coming to a point of deep compassion for her, but the abusive behaviors continued. How does this all culminate into a win for alignment with my soul journey and deeper peace in my daily experience? What allowed me to disengage with the power struggle, choose my own emotional well being over toxic loyalty, and over identification with my emotionally rejected and abandoned inner child was the realization that we had chosen this. As Angie mentioned in the video, we create soul contracts with people we really love. That is referring to deep love in this incarnation and the love we had for one another on a soul level before this incarnation. Once I understood that at a soul level, she agreed to play this role in my life that brought me to a point of unwavering, unconditional love for myself. My resistance to our incongruence and the process of disentanglement of our past began to dissolve. And though in the 3D, she may present as antagonist, and there is a very real pain there for both of us, at a soul level, she is actually proud of me for standing up for myself and cheering me on. Now that I released the struggle in this lifetime, I hope that her soul level lessons includes healing the underlying wounding behind the behaviors in this lifetime. But then again, that may not be the case. Sometimes a soul decides to only hold so much light in this lifetime to learn what it's like to feel out of control, scared, unlovable, so they can forgive their own abusers who experience those same feelings. With all that being said, I have come to know that my mom is actually a very loving soul that agreed to play a limited yet important supporting role in my life to assist my choice for childhood suffering as a catalyst to my own ascension.